Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for championship rings and tings. I am your host, Ross Bolen, and I know it's been a minute. I finally got a vacation in, but I'm back. I'm locked in. I'm ready to talk Houston sports, so let's fucking ride, muchachos. The Astros have remained hot, winning 7 of their last 10, sitting atop the West at 36-21 with now a 9-game lead over the trailing Angels. Feels good. Feels really good. Kiss the ring, suck our dicks, go Astros. But you know what feels even better than being hot in June? Signing young superstar talent to extensions, bitches. ESPN baseball insider Jeff Passan reported that Yordan Alvarez and the Astros agreed to a 6-year, $115 million extension, which is the largest contract signed for any Major League Baseball player whose primary position is designated hitter. As reported by Passan, the contract kicks in 2023, which would have been Alvarez's first year of arbitration. So obviously we avoid that altogether. No arbitration, and we've got obviously what a lot of people consider to be a discount based on what he would have demanded on the open market. He's hitting .299, his batting average .299, 17 home runs at this point. And look, here's where we're at with Yordan Alvarez. Yordan, the great. Okay? You search his name right now, one of the first things that's going to pop up is a Sports Illustrated article titled Yordan Alvarez has become the best hitter in baseball. All right, that's where we're at. I'll read you the very beginning. Yordan Alvarez, almost quietly, is raking his way to the title of best hitter in the world. You tend to hear the names of other superstars, and especially other young superstars, more often. Juan Soto, Ronald Acuna Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and so on. Well, Alvarez is hitting better than all of them. He's been doing what he's doing since he got to the major leagues, and he's also only 24, so this caliber of hitting should be happening for a long time. This is the kind of thing that has made the Astros great and kept them great. Lock down young talent throughout its prime so that you've got them during the course of their prime, right? Then, sometimes on the back end, like more recently with Correa, the back end of his prime, obviously he's not a guy you could argue is out of his prime, but he's getting a little bit older. He's had some health issues. You let the older talent walk when necessary. That's the point. You sign the youths, get them in their prime, lock them down. Make sure you've always got that core of guys built around the veteran leaders like Altuve. Fuck their wives, drink their blood, go to the World Series 3 out of the next 5 seasons. That's the Astros way. So let's make it a 6th, Yordan. Cheers to the extension. And here's to the Astros keeping it rolling. Today's episode of Banging the Can is brought to you by Grammarly. At Bolen Media, we produce several podcasts, and we only have 3 full-time employees, so we don't really have room for miscommunication. Communication is literally our business, which is why I love Grammarly so much. When you're moving fast and juggling more projects than you can count, you don't have time for breakdowns in communication. Luckily, Grammarly makes professional writing fast and simple. It's an all-in-one tool that helps you churn out clear, concise communication quicker than ever in your writing. So whether it's mass emails or boardroom presentations or official contracts, you can get the right words to communicate efficiently. Grammarly makes me a more effective and efficient writer when I'm writing my shows or trying to type emails for work, not only by checking my spelling and grammar as I go, but allowing me to quickly access synonyms so I don't end up using the same words repeatedly. Also, if I miss a spot where I need a comma, it'll fix that. It's honestly essential. Grammarly is free to download as a desktop app and works where you do, so you can work more efficiently on all your projects. Trying to nail the perfect cold pitch, use Grammarly's free tone detector to make sure you're making the right impression. You've got the ideas in your head, but putting those ideas into words can be tricky. With Grammarly Premium, you can clear up the confusion with clearly focused sentence rewrites. Clarity-focused, rather. Convey confidence with ease when you use Grammarly Premium's tone transforms. Get to the point faster and accomplish more with Grammarly today. Go to Grammarly.com/BTC to sign up for a free account. And when you're ready to upgrade to Grammarly Premium, you'll get 20% off for being one of our listeners, for being a can banger. That's 20% off at GRAMMARLY.com/BTC. Now, while he also signed a massive contract recently, God knows how much of it is going to his girlfriend to keep her mouth shut, Deshaun Watson's life is not as bright and shiny as Yordan Alvarez. And the Cleveland Browns are nowhere near the level of organization the Houston Astros are, obviously. Deshaun, my God, just when you think it can't get any worse, the lawsuits just keep rolling in. I mean, the NFL is getting backed into a corner here in terms of levying punishment against Watson. I think that is an inevitability at this point. I mean, there can only be, you know the saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. All right? And this is just, the smoke is becoming unignorable. We're suffocating in it. There's too much. We're going to have lung damage soon. I mean, God, it's just getting out of control. And it for once, the Houston Texans look smart somehow. I don't know. We didn't actually do anything correct. It just looks good that we got rid of him while we could. Let me put it that way. And that we found a buyer stupid enough to take on the risk. And obviously, I'm assuming Deshaun and his team assured the Cleveland Browns that everything would go away, that nothing was wrong, he hadn't done anything, et cetera, et cetera. But what they're looking at now, this is not going away. All right, and that's the thing the NFL is coming to terms with as we speak. And we'll see what happens. But, I mean, in the most recent series of allegations made in civil court, his accuser says he refused to wear the normal massage blanket. Like, you know, I only recently became a guy who does massage, all right? Does massages, all right? And I'm also obviously aware of the level in which the massage industry has disrupted the porn industry, all right? And everybody that is a human being with even a slight level of awkwardness to them knows it's a little bit weird to go get a massage, right? Like another human that you don't even know, a stranger, laying their hands on your body, probably more intimately than anyone else does in your life because you're a huge sports fan and that's what happens. And it's a little bit awkward. So it just like, what my point is, I am acutely aware of the level of like what is appropriate or not appropriate in a massage. And they make it very clear. I've gotten massages probably 5 different places now. Usually resorts, spas. And they make it very clear what you do, where the blanket goes. I mean, all this is to say, I have a level of experience with massage that allows me to speak on it at this point, and I'm proud of that. And this guy just starting off with like, no, I won't take the normal massage blanket because it's like a fairly substantial blanket type of thing. It's not a towel. It's a blanket that they lay over you that covers your body while you get the massage, and then they work the blanket. Like if they need your arm, they uncover your arms, obviously. If they need a leg, they uncover that leg and up to a point on your thigh that's like appropriate or whatever. Like they're not like just getting in your ass if you don't want them to. And I don't know what happens when you ask, when Deshaun does, obviously. But just the towel as a starter. No blanket. Very small towel. Loincloth-esque is what I'm going for. I just barely wanted to cover my ding-dong. That's what I'm saying. What the hell kind of a move is that? Just from the get-go, that being one of the things that's repeated over and over in every allegation. It's like an unignorable pattern. Like, it's not even about whether or not, to me, as a civilian who's not involved in the court process, who has no saying or power in this case. At this point, I'm just trying to analyze where if there's a pattern that shows obvious deviant behavior. I'm not trying to figure out if he's committed a crime. I'm not trying to say he should never play in the NFL again even. I obviously think the guy has a problem that needs to be addressed because in my case, I do see a pattern. And one of the things that's in that pattern is the weird-ass towel thing. The fact that he's asking for this tiny towel. So in this recent allegation, it says he asked for the tiny towel. He became aroused during the massage, and the masseuse was made to focus on his groin and thighs and buttocks, like in every accusation. So again, like, they usually ask you, like, what are you trying to get out of this? Like, what areas are tense, or like, what kind of massage would you like? How hard do you want it? That sort of thing. You know, the same conversation you have before sex, which may have been the thing that confused Deshaun. And, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. But I just, like, again, I'm a man. I'm a sick straight man, right? Like, I get it. I get that there's a level of horniness that occurs in your body biologically that no matter what is there, and you have to do what you got to do to be as morally sound as you can. And what I mean by that is, like, each and every one of us has to make the decision whether or not to be a scumbag, because our biology is basically begging us to be a scumbag on a daily basis. I get that, and you got to decide. Look, I just personally decide not to be. In large part, I'll be honest, because I know the consequences are shitty. They're life-ruining. They're awful. I don't want anything to do with that. It's like, it's just an easy red flag to throw up. When you get horny and you think about doing something stupid, just remember, it's going to ruin your life. And then don't do that thing. Deshaun, that's the scale. That's the scale you weigh things on. Sometimes, to make decisions based on your religious or spiritual nature. But at the very least, you should look at a decision and go, how badly is this going to fuck my life up? Right? Isn't that just a basic way of looking at whether or not you should do a thing? And if the thing is trying to fuck every masseuse you fly in that you found on social media, it's probably going to fuck your life up. Especially when you start doing things like what are alleged in this civil case. Apparently, he began masturbating himself when the small towel fell off. So he gets a boner, right? Here's what happened. He's got a small towel on. He becomes aroused, so his penis is enlarged. He's a grower, let's say. It becomes so aroused that the towel is displaced, swung to the side by his throbbing erection, at which point he begins masturbating himself in this allegation. And then he tells her, you shouldn't be afraid of it. You can touch it. So, I mean, let's just assume Deshaun's got a hog, that he's working with a real flamethrower there, all right? Now he's telling her not to be afraid of the thing, and that she can touch. If it's not huge, and you tell someone not to be afraid of it, then what? Does it have a growth? Is it miscolored? It could be one of those things. Let's assume the best for him, because at this point he has the worst case scenario going on in his life, minus the money. And assume he's hung. And he says, don't be afraid of it. That's like what serial killers say, dude. When they walk into the house with a knife. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he has absolutely zero ability to self-reflect. He has no self-awareness at all. Don't be afraid of it. You can touch it. She's like cowering in fear. Then she's not. What do you mean she can touch it? She's what? So you're jacking off, by the way. That you're jacking. You can't jack. Did no one learn from Louis C.K.? You cannot jack off on someone who doesn't want you to jack off on them, who hasn't explicitly asked that you do that. It's wrong. Again, back to the scale. Go back to the scale. Before you jack off on someone, ask yourself, how badly is this going to ruin my life? If the answer is substantially, withhold jack, sir. Holster your pistol. The fuck is wrong with you people? So he's jacking it, and then he tells her not to be afraid. When she recoils in fear, he begins to masturbate more furiously, according to her allegations, and she becomes obviously even more uncomfortable. He asks her where she wants him to finish. She doesn't answer, so he finishes on her face and chest without permission. That's the allegation. That's the most recent one. I think it's number 24 or something like that. Who the fuck is still counting? We've lost count. We're nearing 30. But 30 is the next big check mark for us, all right? That's where we're at with Deshaun. So, man, it's only funny because it's it's a laugh to keep from crying scenario, especially if you were a big fan, like I was. Like, it's just disgusting. And it points to this like bigger picture that you can start to see the pieces click into place, especially if you paid a lot of attention to his interviews, especially if you watched his Browns press conference. Like, you can start to see like the sociopathy in it. Like the egotistical, like, I am owed this type of thing that a guy who's never lost in his life might start to develop. You start to put the pieces together and it's like, oh, fucking Jesus Christ. And then, to make matters even worse, his attorney went on the radio, specifically with friends of the show, Sean Pendergast and Seth Payne on Sports Radio 610, and Rusty Hardin, his attorney, celebrity attorney, perennial courtside presence at Rockets games, explained on the air. I think they were 42 minutes into a 45-minute interview, and it's like he finally cracked. Sean and Seth finally got him. They talked to him to the point that he finally just goes, let me explain to you all, the audience, I'll be Rusty. I'm going to tell everybody now how happy endings are commonplace and not at all illegal if you don't pay for them. He did that on Sports Radio 610, live on the air, on the radio. Rusty Hardin, Deshaun Watson's legal representative in the myriad of cases against him, civil and otherwise at this point, and explained. He was like, look, man, anybody who's listening who's gotten a massage regularly knows that sometimes you just get jacked off at the end. And if you don't pay for that specifically as a sex act, it's not illegal. It's just an insane thing to say out loud. It shows a complete disconnect from reality. It is not commonplace to be masturbated at the end of a fucking massage. Commonplace isn't the word I would use. Is it a known thing that occurs? Is it a thing that does happen? Yes. In certain establishments, which Houston has a colored, checkered history with, by the way. I think like 67% of Highway 6 was once illegal spas that were offering sexual services. But what the fuck? Look, man, I've never gotten a happy ending. Maybe it's just that I'm pissed off nobody's ever offered me one. But nobody's ever offered me one. And if they did, I'd be like, what the fuck? I'm just not trying to get, what the fuck? I don't want to be jacked off by a random person who just gave me a massage and that's what they do. That's what they do. Then you get to the whole question of like, how many other dicks has she touched today? How many other dicks have been rubbed on my dick just now? I just don't get it. All right. And this is me trying to level with Deshaun and understand the situation and understand Rusty Hardin's words. I'm married and I'm not a moron. All right. So I don't fuck around, but I'm just trying to get inside the mind of a madman here. Like, who the fuck thinks it's a good idea to explain on the radio when they're actively in a case where they're representing a guy who's being accused of he's not being accused of receiving a happy ending. He's being accused of forcibly masturbating and ejaculating on someone who has not given him permission to do so. No one's questioning the validity of a happy ending except Rusty, who apparently felt the need to explain to all of us that they are in fact not illegal as long as you don't pay for them, which almost makes it sound like you shouldn't pay for them. He's like, listen, if they offer you a happy ending, say yes, then just refuse to pay, and technically you haven't done anything illegal. He's like the fucking lawyer from Breaking Bad. He's like Saul Goodman. Better call Saul. Better call Rusty if you get caught. Maybe that's the angle here. Maybe that's what he's going after. If you get caught receiving a happy ending in the Houston area and you don't call Rusty Hardin at this point, what the fuck are you doing? This is your guy. This is the happy ending attorney. You know how there are attorneys, billboards on the highway like DWI, or there are other ones that'll be like, did you get hit by a fucking 18-wheeler? Like, those guys have very specific niches they go after. Rusty is the happy ending attorney. He's that guy. Now, whether he likes it or not. Holy shit. What a ridiculous... I just want to take it back very quickly to where this all started, with Houston drafting him and it being the brightest moment in the history of the franchise. Leading to the only era, if you can even call it an era, I'm not sure it went on long enough, of hope that has maybe ever existed. And even during that era, our coach, GM, president, and overlord was actively shipping off Hall of Fame receivers who have since been caught doing PEDs. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, we've never been even close to fucking happy. This is the closest we came. This guy, Deshaun, jack me off or I'll jack off on you, Watson. It's just a sad state of affairs. We fucked up somewhere along the way. Maybe the stadium was built on some like ancient burial ground or so. If we looked at any of those types of possibilities, but at least we're not the Browns, man. Because we've got the neck. They got nothing. They got this fucking guy. And what's his face? The disgruntled little guy. Oh, fuck. Matt, I can't even remember his name. That's how bad he is. He's irrelevant. Holy shit. Anyway, we all learned something out of this, and that's that technically, if you receive a happy ending, there's a reason it's called a happy ending. It's happy. I think Rusty explained that too. But you don't pay, you haven't done anything wrong. Today's episode of Banging the Can is also brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN is here to drastically enhance your web browsing experience and data security. No one likes to be watched or tracked, even if they have nothing to hide. That's why it's important you step up your privacy game whenever possible. If you aren't using a VPN right now, you're currently open to having your internet data creeped on in a big way. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. It's a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. It creates an encrypted tunnel for your data, protects your online identity by hiding your IP address, allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely, and more. VPNs are the only way to be sure that your real location and IP address are hidden, your online data is encrypted, and your browsing history is invisible to your internal service provider and other third parties. Everybody who cares about their privacy should be using a VPN right now. NordVPN is the best and fastest VPN provider in the business. They got software, not hardware, okay? It's super easy to use across every major platform, whether you're on Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, or Linux. Even your Android TV supports NordVPN. You can connect with just one click or enable auto-connect for zero-click protection. I personally love NordVPN because if you travel abroad, finally get that vacation in like I just did, go to Mexico, overseas, you can make sure you still have access to your favorite shows from your home country on location-based streamers like Netflix using NordVPN like I just did. And because at this point, I think it's super important we all take our own steps to protect our privacy online, I highly recommend a VPN. Go with Nord. They're a big supporter of our show. If you're in an area like me where Astros games are blacked out and you need to find another way to watch, NordVPN can be helpful for that too. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal just for can bangers by going to nordvpn.com/thecan, THECAN, the can, to get a huge discount on your NordVPN plan plus free threat protection plus one additional month for free. This deal is completely risk-free with NordVPN's 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose except a sense of insecurity. There's a link for that deal in the description of this episode. Thank you, NordVPN, for supporting all the can bangers and our online security. Again, that's NordVPN, NordVPN.com/thecan, code THECAN. The NBA draft coming up June 23rd. It's looking like the Rockets, obviously drafting in the third spot, going to be stuck with Duke's Paolo Banchero in the 3 spot. And yes, I know he's probably going to be solid, but I just don't see the ceiling being all that high. I can't really tell. Look, I'll be honest with you. Not a huge college basketball fan. I watch during March Madness. That's it. I'm very much a casual when it comes to college basketball. What I've noticed over the course of the many, many years, like 15 years at this point, as a hardcore NBA fan, inarguably hardcore, watched many thousands of NBA games at this point, it's obviously pretty hit or miss. Sometimes there are guys that the draft scouts think are going to be huge stars, they go in the top 5, and then they're total busts. And you never know, injuries-wise, the NBA is a very precarious league in terms of health. It's difficult. You got to be able to hold up over the course of those long seasons, season after season after season. I mean, to really make an impact on a team's longevity or position in the in the league, that's what you need. So it's so difficult for me to really make a call on a guy like Paolo, where I can't judge the ceiling very much, man. Like his NBA comp, his pro comp is Ben Simmons, apparently, which is pretty hard to get excited about no matter which way you shake it. Like, I didn't like Ben's game before all the injuries and mental health issues. And I understand he's got vision on the court. He's a great passer. And he never had what I saw as the thing you need to go beyond being a really good role player. And maybe that's extremely insulting to Ben Simmons' game. Maybe he's a very controversial player to discuss. He's very divisive. People either love him or hate him. I'm somewhere in the middle. I just don't want my next... Here's why. With a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, I think you have to roll your dice on the highest superstar, franchise-changing player possible. Like the guy that you think has the highest possible ceiling available. And if that's Paolo, and if that's what Raf and the boys in the front office land on, so be it. So be it. I'm a huge, huge fan at this point. It can't be broken, especially with when you look at the Texans to counter what the Rockets bring to the table, especially you look at the Astros to counter what the Texans bring to the table. I love the Rockets, man. There's a reason I'm wearing a throwback Yao Ming jersey as I record today. Like, this is my squad. If that's what they decide, I'm not going to bitch and moan like an impotent jerk. I'm not. But I'm not stoked yet. All right, I personally would rather load up on an explosive guard with a higher NBA ceiling as I see it, right? Jaden Ivey is that guy in my personal opinion. Jabari Smith likely going number 1. If he does, OKC is going to take Chet Holmgren at number 2, and we're expected to take Paolo Banchero at the 3 spot. Again, I understand the arguments against the notion of loading up on another explosive guard, but that's just my personal take. Is his ceiling, to me, appears higher. I realize we've already got a couple of great guards, potentially. So, Rockets Twitter has partially talked me into accepting this fate, if you haven't noticed. Like, I'm hoping for the best, but I refuse to be excited. Paulo will have to win me over. I have earned that. I think his pro comp being Ben Simmons gives us all an excuse for that. And I realize he's got a lot going on the offensive side of the ball in college. I hope that translates to the NBA, and I hope he can go defensively. But we'll see what the Rockets do when June 23rd rolls around. By the way, before we head out, Facing Nolan, the documentary by Bradley Jackson, who was a guest on my show. I was interviewing him about putting together the documentary, and I got to see it at South by Southwest when it screened here in Austin. Facing Nolan is back in theaters again for one more night in theaters. June 24th nationwide. Get tickets now. Go to facingnolan.com. It's about Nolan Ryan. It's phenomenal. It was inspired by Bradley watching The Last Dance and thinking to himself, God damn it, he's a documentarian. He wished he could have made that. He said, who's my Michael Jordan? He finds Nolan Ryan in his mind, in his heart, and he makes a documentary about him. Facingnolan.com. The definitive Nolan Ryan documentary in theaters, June 24th. Facing Nolan nationwide in theaters, folks. Go see it. Digitally available July 19th. Facing Nolan will be. So, yeah. That's it. Follow us on TikTok at Banging the Can. We're on TikTok. I think we have like 20,000 followers around there. On Instagram at Banging the Can. On Twitter at Banging the Can. I am Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBOLEN. My first name is William. Ross Bolen, WRBOLEN. On Twitter and Instagram to follow my personal accounts and keep up with all the Bolen media shows like the Ross Bolen podcast, my comedy show, like Formula Bone. The Formula Bone F1 podcast is available wherever you listen to Banging the Can. If you're an F1 fan, it is hosted by Jared Borslow, my co-host on the Ross Bolen podcast, one of the 3 employees here at Bolen Media that works full-time. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles is our TV and film podcast hosted by myself and my friend of over 20 years, Barrett Dudley. Go to bolenmedia.com/shop to buy a Bang in the Can dad cap, and we got T-shirts so you can represent on the streets of Houston. Tell all your Houston friends and family about the show, Can Bangers. Tell them about Bang in the Can. We got a lot of baseball left in the Astros season. Rockets about to do their draft. Texans, NFL coming back soon. A lot going on. Astros making another World Series run. Get as many people here as we can. We appreciate you spreading the word. I do. Very much so. Thank you. Bang in the Can. Tell everybody. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.